All right, guys. So, before we get into this, we're going to have a quick little story time about this series. Now, out of every single series, honestly, out there, I don't think there's a series I've been recommended more and for a longer period of time than Spy X Family. Since the very first day this manga was a thing, I've been recommended it. I've only heard amazing, really amazing things about it, actually. And after watching episode one, I clearly see why. I this just feels like quality the anime. It's really hard to explain, but this series kind of gripped me in immediately. And honestly, I'm glad I haven't checked out the manga until now, honestly, because I wanted this to be my very first impressions of this series. And so far, it is incredibly high. Incredibly high impressions. I am very impressed. But let's get into it, because welcome back to the channel, guys. Today, we are reviewing Spy X Family Episode 1. Today is finally the day this series has come out. Arguably the most anticipated series of the spring 2022 anime season. Even more than Kaguya, I feel like, is finally here. And it's been a long time coming, but it's here. So let's kind of get into it because this might be a longer video. I wrote a lot down on Notepad Kun today. I wrote a shit ton down because I had a feeling if I got any info wrong on this video that I would get flamed in the comments. And I'm not trying to do that. Plus, it was just a really interesting watch. So let's get into it. Our episode starts pretty normally, or so we think, because our episode starts with an assassination, as you would expect with a name like this series. With the assassination of one of the, I believe, nationals of the country of Westalis, which is where our main character is from. Now, you see, they feel like it's an attack from their country, because before we get into that, actually, we have a very shaky truce between the East and the West in this series. And Westalis, the series that we are in, or the country that we are in right now, wants to send their top man for the job. Oh, sorry about that, guys. They want to send their top man for the job to do it. And he happens to be called Twilight. Now, Twilight, you see, is a man of like 1,000 faces. A man that can take on any persona and just completely blend into character. But he doesn't have a very orthodox mission here. His mission is to infiltrate. Actually, it is to get close to a man named Desmond Donovan. And to do that, they are infiltrating his child's school. He's a man that's very reclusive, that doesn't ever go out, ever. But he only goes to these public functions when it has to do with his kid. So the government issues an order to Twilight to make a family and infiltrate this place. Which, needless to say, he's freaked out about. Because he thought he casts all his old life away when he became a spy. And for all intents and purposes, he did. But his mission is to make a family, find a wife and a daughter, infiltrate this school to get closer to Desmond Donovan, and see what he's up to. So right away, we have a very interesting premise. Which, like I said, I've known of this series for years, so I already knew the premise for a long time, but it's still very, very interesting to me. So, in the process of doing this, actually, no, before we get into that, it's called Operation Strix, is what the mission's called. And to do this mission, he has to find a wife and child, obviously, as you would expect. So he assumes the name of Lloyd Forger. That is his name. And his mission, like I said, is to find a wife and kid. And to do so, he goes to an orphanage, actually. And it's here that we meet Anya. Now, Anya's a very strange girl, you know? Even the caretaker there said that she was quite strange and unorthodox, to say the least. And she is, you know? On the outside, she's very strange. She's very perceptive for someone of her age, you know? It's almost like she can read minds to an extent. But Lloyd sees her intellect and how smart she is, so he decides to pick her up. But little do we know, she's actually a telepath, which is quite an interesting concept for a series like this. A spy series, no less. She's a telepath. Because we find out that she was experimented on in the past for, I would assume, espionage purposes. But Lloyd doesn't know that, so he adopts her, and she becomes Anya Forger. And they start their lives together, you know? Lloyd, he's treating it like business as usual, you know? He's going about his day, figuring out what to do. But because Anya's a telepath, we actually get some quite funny scenes throughout the episode of him thinking it's just, oh, this is just erratic child behavior. But because she can read his mind, she can read all the harsh things he's saying. She can read him kind of like an open book. And he keeps thinking to himself, like, oh, is this kid actually kind of dumb? Should I take her back to the orphanage? And of course she doesn't want that. Because like I said, she's been adopted 4 other times in her life. And she is afraid of being alone. Rightfully so. The people that experimented on her did not treat her like a child at all. They treated her like a lab rat at best. And told her that you don't have time for any of these childish games. You have to grow up quickly. You have to be the person that can make world peace happen. You don't have time to be a kid. But of course, as you're saying that to a kid, what are they supposed to do? You know? So she's had a very tough life, we see. And she's apparently infatuated with spies, you know, because through her telepathic abilities, she finds out that Lloyd is a spy. And she's always been infatuated with them. Very interested in them. She even asked him at one point in the episode, I want a pistol with a silencer on it. Which I thought was quite funny. But because she's so infatuated with it, and she found out that he's a spy, she gets curious, of course. So she goes through his things and finds some of his spy gear. And we get to a communication device. And of course, she doesn't know how to use it, so she's just messing around, hitting buttons on it. But in the process, she actually sends out a message to the enemy. She actually sends out a coded message to the enemy. And it's through that information that they're able to actually find Lloyd's place. And as he's returning, he gets attacked, actually, by these goons of this people. And it's revealed that they actually are able to kidnap Anya. So now Lloyd, being attacked by these goons and having to rescue Anya, has to make a choice. He has to decide whether to just abandon this girl and find a new home, or to go and rescue her. But we see in a flashback, actually, that he's had quite a tragic past himself. No one ever helped him. No one ever extended a hand out to him in his time of need. All he could ever do was cry. And they kind of have a kinship, if you think about it. As he was getting information earlier in the episode, too, his information broker Frankie actually joked about that, saying, you guys are perfect for each other. She changes names just as much as you do. And that kind of struck a chord with me, thinking about it, honestly, because they are very similar. And it's because of that he decides to go rescue Anya. And in the process, we find out that apparently they were able to kidnap Lloyd. But it's revealed to just be a trap by him. He is the man of 1,000 faces, after all. So after getting in there and successfully rescuing Anya, he gives her a little mission, to go to the police and to go turn herself in so she could have a better life at a different orphanage. Because, like I said, he feels a kinship to her. They're very much alike, whether he wants to admit it or not. But because she can read minds, she knows what he's saying, and she doesn't want to be abandoned. So he goes back and he takes out all these guys. Which, I gotta say, the animation on this show is very good, guys. Like I said, this is just quality the anime. I know it's really Mr. and Mrs. Smith the anime, but it's really quality the anime. Wit Studio and Cloverworks, man, like what a combination. Like what a combination of studios to do a series like this. It's no one. This is gonna be one of the most popular series of the year, guys. I feel like even after one episode, I really feel that way. But we got a little off track. Anyway, because she's able to read minds, she knows what he's thinking, and she doesn't want to be abandoned, She likes him. By reading his mind, she's able to figure out why he does that. He wants to make a world where no more children have to cry. And she, in that moment, realizes that this is the man I want to be my father. This is the man I want to be around. And she kind of runs back to him after he takes out all those goons as he's leaving. And of course, he's making up these excuses. Oh, what are you doing out the house? See, I went shopping and they didn't have anything. And of course, because she's a telepath, she can tell that he's lying and all that. But I don't know, you kind of feel a bond forged between them already. And we see that later in the episode when he's teaching her about this test so they can study to get into this school. You can tell they had a little heart-to-heart moment. Because as she's taking the test, actually, everyone around her is freaking out. They're going crazy. They don't know what to do. But she just remembers all the time that he spent teaching her. And she's able to pass the test, actually. And we see a really touching moment in the episode, too, where Lloyd actually is able to relax for the first time. I don't know if in his whole life, but in a very long time, because the exhaustion finally hits him. He's able to relax, and he feels genuinely happy in that moment. We see a genuine smile on his face for the first time. It's a very touching moment. It truly is. I can tell this series is going to be very good. We're gonna... I just want to know how well they're going to balance the comedy parts of it. I'd argue probably there's going to be some slice of life elements and just the family dynamic. But judging from episode 1, I don't think we have anything to worry about on that. This series is going to be great. I can tell. So he relaxes to the point where all his exhaustion actually catches up to him and he falls over right there in the schoolyard. And they're at home. He's relaxing. He fell asleep on the couch. And a mailman comes. And we see that it's from the school about their administration process. And since she passed the test, she's moved on to the second part of the administration process. But before we get into that, there's a really adorable scene, actually, where he's sleeping on the couch and she kind of crawls up next to him. And he starts freaking out, like, oh, are you trying to kill me? Because he's apparently never slept around anyone, which is a little strange, but very adorable scene. And they read this letter, and part 2 of the administration process is an interview with the family. And we get the line that just had me dying of laughter when I heard it. They say you have to bring both members of your family to the administration process. But Anya just looks at him and says, Mama doesn't exist. And I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but when I heard that, I actually paused the episode and I just started to laugh a lot. I thought it was quite funny, personally. So yeah, our new operational goal in this is to find Mama. And by the preview of the next episode, we see that Mama's coming. And I will say, I was very surprised that she didn't get introduced in this episode. I was very surprised she didn't. That we only got his perspective. But I think it's a good thing too, They have to build the father-daughter relationship more too. So, but yeah, that's really this episode, guys. And I gotta say, this was just quality. Just quality to the utmost level. I can, after one episode, I can perfectly see why people love this series so much. It's a true pleasure to watch. And I already want the next episode. So, I don't know. This really might be a series I go and read the manga for. Like, I've said that before, but like, this and Dress Up Darling just kind of like hit different to me. Those two series, like, I actually have picked up the first volume of Dress Up Darling, and I absolutely feel like I'm going to do that with Spy X Family too. Like, I want the next episode, like, right now. Like, stick it in my veins, guys. Like, pump that shit in my arm. I need it right now because this episode was great. So you guys let me know in the comments what you thought about it. I'm sure the comments are going to be filled with nothing but positivity. But if you had a problem with this episode, let me know. Like, how well is it adapted from the manga, actually? I'm genuinely curious about that. Let me know down below what you thought of this episode. And, yeah, guys, I think that'll be it today. But, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this series. I can't wait for episode 2. But, yeah, that'll be it for today, guys. I hope you guys have a great day, week, month, and year. And until next time, deuces, and have a blessed day.